Hey, the first question, I wanted to ask you was, at Empowered, our goal is to help share the lessons in business and finance. But can you tell me about some of your off-the-field business interests and how those interests came about?
Yeah, man. For me, it started when I was a young kid, man. My dad had his own business, worked for cars. So for me, that was the first exposure to business that I had. And I always said that I was a co-owner of the business. My name was Kelvin Lee Beachum Jr. My dad's name was Kelvin Lee Beachum Sr. And I'm like, well, this is my business too. It ain't mine, but it'll be mine one day. And for me, that was the first kind of exploration in the business, and to what it looked like to own something. And then I went off to college and actually tried to go and apply for the business school because I said, all right, well, if I'm going to go back and run the shop, Kelvin's Automotive, I need to have a business degree, do it right. And wasn't able to get the degree, get that degree. I ended up getting an econ degree in Environmental Sports Management, and then got my master's in organizational dynamics. But it pretty much went completely opposite of what I wanted to do as far as getting the degree to go back and run my dad's business. While I was in college, was exposed to everything oil and gas. SMU is known for the wealthy people there, and a lot of their wealth has either come from real estate or oil and gas. So, during my college years, it was really about, well, how do I get close to some of these oil and gas tycoons? And even going into the league, that was kind of the focus. It's like, all right, I need to make sure I stay close to these oil and gas tycoons, and then the freaking bottom falls out of the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
I was in Pittsburgh at the time. The Marcellus Shale was hot. It's hot. As hot as it can get, man. It was doing really well. Western PA, Eastern Ohio, West Virginia. They're all, benefiting from the Marcellus Shale, and then it all falls out. And I'm like, all right, well, I can go find something else to do in business. And then, started getting involved. And for me, philanthropically, first it was STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and was going at it from the oil and gas angle, getting more people involved in the science behind oil and gas. And then just started putting two and two together. Like, there's so much technology out here, not just for the oil and gas industry, but for a number of different industries. And then, I blew my knee out in 15, got to go to the Super Bowl out in San Francisco when the Broncos and Panthers were playing. Got to hear from Jeff Jordan and Ben Hortz and Joe Montana, and the NFLPA kind of opened the doors and introduced us to some great entities out there. Met a guy by the name of Ryan Neese out there. Met my mentor, still mentor, John Donovan, who's over at just retired from AT&T. Listened to him and started just leveraging relationships to do the things that I wanted to do in business, and started going towards, looking at technology and understanding how technology was impacting and shaping the world. Then that's kind of how, things have kind of transformed for me as far as what I thought I wanted to do early on. Still can go down and run my dad's business if I need to, just can't do it from a hands-on standpoint. Still believe in the oil and gas industry, so stay close to the friends that I've met at Chevron over the years and at Shell, and some of the oil and gas tycoons that I know from SMU. But over the last couple of years, it's really been investing in technology and spending time in New York, spending time in San Francisco, spending time with early-stage venture firms, growth-stage venture firms, late-stage venture firms, now starting to expand into PE funds and activist funds and hedge funds, and just building a relationship in this particular sector. And it's not so much that this is going to be the way that I make my money, but this is the way that you get exposure, At the end of the day, that's really all you want to be able to do is you get exposure, you find out what you like and what you don't like, what you're not good at, where relationships can play a huge role, and where some of these relationships can open up doors for you. And you got to roll from there. And I've been blessed to have some great folks that I've been connected to in both San Francisco and New York, and also relationships that came out of my relationships when I was involved in student government and some of the things that happened on campus at SMU in Dallas. And these relationships have all come to fruition, I would say, over the last, I graduated from high school in 07, so from 07 to 2020. So these relationships have taken quite a bit of time to actually come to fruition, but they're here at the moment. And it's really come from spending time with folks But at the end of the day, like I said, it's all about relationships.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you said something, really interesting in your conversation. So you mentioned your mentor, being at AT&T. I think when I talk to a lot of players, they lean towards, finding a venture capitalist or a private equity guy. Talk to me about, your experience, why you found someone in industry and why that is a really valuable relationship opposed to just going to, find a venture capitalist or an investor to lean on.
Well, to be honest with you, man, I find an expert in go this way. I find the expert in every single industry that I'm in. So it's not just industry. It's like, all right, if I'm going into early stage, who are the top early stage folks that I need to know? If I'm going into cybersecurity, who are the top cybersecurity experts that I need to know?
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not so much about like, just one particular person. Like John just happened to be just the person that really just leaned in and like just it was mutual. And I think more than anything, you have to find a way to make sure that the relationship is reciprocal. It's not just, hey, I'm leaning on a venture capitalist because I know he knows where all the deal flow is coming from. But like, where can you add value to that person as well? So it's one of those things where these relationships and mentorship opportunities have been mutually respective. Like it's something that I can give to the relationship, and it's something that they can give to the relationship. Yeah. I would say it's not just one person, but I mean, it's John has been more forthcoming than a lot of people, and more impactful with the introductions. They've been some very, very powerful introductions in the venture ecosystem. But it's been multiple people and different experts in different lines of business that have helped me along the way. I would say that I actually seek out those people. If it's healthcare, who's the best person in healthcare? If it's anything healthcare related, I built a relationship with Nat Turner over at Flatiron Health, who pretty much introduced me to the entire New York ecosystem. I give him a lot of credit. If I'm doing anything that's corporate and does anything with recruiters or anything with transition and people transitioning from role to role within the corporate structure, I lean on Mark Garrison, who was the co-founder of GLG. So it's like it's different people who are different experts in different things. Like if I need anything in Boston, I'm gonna lean on David Fialco over at General Catalyst. If I need anything in Chattanooga, I'm gonna lean on one of the founders that I know in Chattanooga, the founder of Freightways. So it's like you find different people who are the best at what they do in their region. The founder of Sales Loft that's in Atlanta. Anything tech oriented, I send it over to that's in Atlanta. I send it to the founder of Sales Loft in Atlanta. Yeah. So it's like finding the best people in their market, in their region, in their field, and spending time with them and building a relationship with them. And you'd be surprised how small this whole ecosystem is. Yeah. If you're good to people, people will be good to you. But again, you can't just go in with it with your hand out like give me. It's like what can you actually give and what type of value can you give to the folks that you try to build these relationships with? Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And something else that you mentioned, and when I talk to a lot of different players, some of the questions they ask me is, how do they start these relationships? Sometimes they're intimidated, and how do they have a conversation? Now, how did you feel? How did you go about that when you we're going to talk to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company? What lessons or tips did you give a young player that wants to build these relationships but actually doesn't know where to start or is a little intimidated that they haven't been in that world? I mean, you start with commonalities. That comes from research, that comes from diligence, that comes from asking questions about people that they may know. With John Donovan, at the time I was playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I sent him a jersey. That was the first order of business. Before I even met him, before we ever had a conversation, I sent him a jersey. So you work to find the commonalities. It's the simple commonality of, all right, somebody goes to the University of Florida. Like, one of the first things that I talk about is like, all right, I know you to the University of Florida. I got teammates that I played with that went to the University of Florida. People love their college football teams. Marquise Pouncey, Carlos Dunlap, the Pouncey brothers, Tim Tebow. It's so many things. So it's finding commonalities. Like, okay, somebody went to Notre Dame. Do you know such and such and such and such that went to Notre Dame, whether they play football or they're in business now? Most likely they either know of them or there's some type of connection. So it's really working to do your diligence and just find a commonality. If It's one guy that I just met not too long ago that loves jujitsu. Like, it's like, all right, well, I may not like do jujitsu, but I know about it, and I know the principles that are needed in jujitsu that guys on the football field use from a defensive lineman standpoint to get, to gain leverage on the offensive lineman. So it's been able to talk a commonality with him because that's what he knows and that's what he loves. I don't know anything about surfing, but I know if you're gonna go surf, you got to go surf in Hawaii. That's where he goes to surf. So it's finding simple commonalities. And again, that takes research. That takes, if somebody has a Facebook profile, going through their profile and finding a little bit about them, going through the Instagram account and finding a little bit about them, going through the LinkedIn account and seeing who they're connected to in your network. And there's been times where I will call people that I'm connected with that are connected to the person that I either want to talk to or that I know I'm going to need to talk to at some point, and ask them questions about, hey, what type of person is he? What does he like? How did y'all get connected? And you just find these commonalities, and it's really all this huge big spider web, and you find just a connective tissue to build a relationship and at least have a touch point there. And then once you get to know somebody, you get to learn what they like, what they don't like, what deals they like, what deals they don't like. Where do they spend most of their time? Is it, I want to be in consumer, or I want to be in consumer tech. I want to be in CPG. I want to be in vertical SaaS, horizontal SaaS. I want to be in cybersecurity. I want to be in quantum computing. I'm in biology. I'm in biotech. I'm in biosynthetic. Like I'm in, I'm in pharma. It's so many different categories, and once you find out what that person likes and what they're spending their time on, you lean into that. And for me, it's like it sounds easy to me because I think that's how all relationships work, and it's not just business. If you play a football with somebody and it's somebody new that just came into the locker room and you have no idea, who they are, one of the first questions you ask, well, where did you come from? Oh, you came from Houston? Oh, I know such and such that are in Houston. Oh, you went to UConn? Oh, I know such and such that went to UConn. You went to Alabama. Oh, I know such and such who went to Alabama. It's the same thing, You've been able to tie those simple touch points and simple connective tissue together.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a lot of times it's not hard, but it's also not simple. It takes a little bit of work, but it's nothing that players don't know. I think a lot of times we overcomplicate it, but we're all pretty much the same. We're cut from similar cloth. There's some sort of commonality there, and I think doing that makes things a lot easier. And like you said before, it's about coming in and getting to know somebody before you're just asking for something. I think that the transactional relationship, it becomes transactional. If that's how you want to do it, that's how it ends up being. But if you want a real relationship, it takes work like anything else. I completely agree. So you switch gears a little bit. I know we met a few times, and I know you're big in the investing world and stuff that you mentioned before. When it comes to investing, are there some lessons that you have? Quick nuggets that you want to share as more and more players are interested in investing? It's a hot topic out there. Everybody wants to be an investor and owner. But is there a few lessons that you would share or just nuggets you think will be helpful to other people that are interested in getting into investing?
For me, I think the biggest lesson is diligence is everything. And I think some of my shortcomings early on in kind of this process, especially in the sector of biotech, area that I don't know a ton about, but I didn't do enough diligence. And I did diligence as far as asking about the sector, the space, but I didn't actually go out and meet with the founder before I pulled the trigger. It was during season. No, it wasn't during season. It was during like the OTA time of year. I knew that I liked the company. I heard about the company a lot. I asked a number of investors that knew about the company. It was investors that passed on it. It was investors that invested in it. It was my first biotech company. I thought I was doing a really good job with gut health, but I never actually. Well, I did go out and see the company, but being the founder and the co-founder, never actually got to sit down. And this is a company that's been around for about 8 years. It had raised some substantial capital. Put a small check into the company. But for me, you never want to lose money. But I think looking back at it, if I were going back at this particular company again, I would have actually sat down and gotten to know the founder a lot better. And I did do that. Learned a lot from it. But now, whether I invest or don't invest, I try to make sure that I get face time with folks that I'm investing in. And the reason being is you can find out a lot about a person when you look into their eyes.
Yep.
It's great to do business over the phone, which half the time, I would say probably 75% of the time is done over the phone or over the internet. But, well, in my case, because of how, my time is. But I think most investors get that chance to have that face time and be able to look in somebody's eyes and tell if they're being truthful, if they're lying. And I didn't get played, but it wasn't the best outcome for me with that particular company. But I feel that the biggest lesson that I would give to young people or young people that are getting into investing is do your diligence, and as much diligence as you can and as much face time as you can with the founder, with the person that you're investing in, whether it's a $20K check, which is what my check was, or whether it was a $20 million check,
Yeah, completely agree. I think, in everything you do, you wouldn't wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to go play in the NFL. This is taking time to get here and the work has been put in from the time you were little. So I think when it comes to investing, there's no such thing as easy money. So you have to take the time and work at it in the same way that you'd work in anything else. And I think that's a really valuable lesson. Let me ask you, you played in the league for a while, coming out of school, early in the league, before you started to invest, when you started to make that league money, what were some financial lessons there? So, understanding your paycheck, or what were some sort of wake-up calls or even things that you look back and tell, a key that's coming into the league, things to think about financially before you want to, become that business mogul, if you want to step back to the basics?
Okay, for me, it was the things that I did early on was save. Like, save and no debt. Whatever you do, save as much as you can and no debt. And I was on a 7-round contract, vet minimum. Bonus was more than what most people in America make from a bonus standpoint, but nothing that, once you become a seasoned veteran that you've made, over time. It's money is money, but it's not as much as it's what I got now,
Yeah.
But for me, it was save as much as I can, keep expenses extremely low. I had a wife, but we didn't take, any vacations like we take now until I got paid from free agency, the first time I went into free agency. So it was really just work, keep expenses low, and no debt. And I would say that to anybody, whether you're playing football or whether you're not. But it's one of those things, you're just stacking chips for a while, man. Especially if you're a minimum deal. Before you even get to the point where, you want to hang out with the other guys who got money, or Pro Bowlers, or the first rounders, or the guys who've been in the league, for 2 contracts. You can't go act like they act and dress like they dress. Like, you got to be who you are. And I think you get caught up in like, well, I want to go hang with such and such. I want to go hang with such and such. I want to go hang with this guy. That guy got stupid money. Like, he can go fly private because he's earned the right to go fly private. He's earned the right to go to Cabo and Russia and Estonia and Africa and Dubai. Like, he's earned that. You ain't got to that point yet, so don't be hanging with that guy. Not that you can't hang with him, but don't try to mimic what he's doing.
Yeah,
so,
completely agree.
It's one of those things you can't get caught up in, like, trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, 100%.
So for me, the lessons were really, very, very simple. Save as much as you can, and also when you save money, you actually have leverage when you hit free agency because you don't take a bad deal because you're desperate for money. Like, you're in a position of power when you've been able to save as much money from a rookie contract where you're like, no, I'm not going to take a bad deal. Like, I'm going to wait and stay out and take the best deal that's on the market, not a desperate deal just to get money in your pocket,
Yeah, 100%. And that's a great point. That's what I talk about. Whether it's you rookie coming into the league or when you're thinking about retiring in a career transition, you want to take finances out of the decision. And if you can do that, you end up doing the best thing for you. You may want to end up going to play in Texas for the last few years to be around family. You may want to, retire a little early to spend more time with your kids. So you want to make sure you can make the decision based on what's best for you and your family, opposed to try and go grab a dollar. And that's the whole goal of, I think, my business and sort of my mindset with all this stuff is let's take finances out of it and allow you to do the things you really want to do. I have one last question before we kind of wrap today. So, as an athlete, you talked about, the idea of you can reach out to people or sending a Steelers jersey or building these relationships. How else have you leveraged your platform? What else have you done, whether it's after making an investment, being able to, walk into an owner's suite and talk to them about it? Is anything that you've done specifically to leverage your platform to help increase your probability of success when it comes to, investing in some of these opportunities?
Yeah, man. I leverage the tickets during the season. So it's been times where, every game this year I was hosting somebody, whether it was a founder, an operator, an investor that I've invested with, a potential investment that I want to do. And then every year, the past 2 or 3 years, I've actually rented out a box at the game, and I've brought in, some of my top mentors and top founders in my network of founders here in New York, and people that I want to continue building relationships with that I host at the game. And my mom comes up, my wife is there in the box, and my chief of staff is there in the box, and they're hosting them. So it's leveraging what you do have. And being in New York, it's afforded me that opportunity, and I've only done that the past 2 years. But I would say since I've been in the league, I've leveraged tickets to be able to build those relationships with folks for years. And that's a way in which a simple way, that you can leverage tickets. Like, there's nothing wrong with bringing family to a game. But I itch out a couple of different games in the season. I'm like, these are tickets and games that I want to leverage for people in my network, especially for people who like the team that I'm playing against. Like, if it's, I got a guy that's done a lot of work in Dubai, and his dad is a huge Oakland fan. So him and his dad came to the Oakland game. I got people who big Giants fans. So got them tickets to the Giants game. People who are big Pittsburgh fans. And got them to the Pittsburgh game. And man, just that, I would say just that Pittsburgh game alone has been one of the most productive relationships that I've made. Not with John Donovan, but with a guy just invited this year, man. He introduced me to some art folks in South Africa that I'm actually going over. That's the vacation I'm going on. He introduced me to some folks in South Africa. The guy he introduced me to the chairman of the Fine Arts Division over there in Johannesburg. And you never know where things go just based on the people that you meet and that you host. So for me, those have been the ways that I've leveraged the game of football. And then, the thing is, I also leverage the fact that I can cold call an enterprise. The thing is, people will take a cold call from NFL players, especially if they're a Jets fan. So leverage that. If they're a Jets fan, use it. And if they're a Pittsburgh fan, use it. If they're a Jaguars fan, use it. Those are 3 teams that I've played for, and those are the three brands that I've used. Yeah,
100%, man. I was at the Pittsburgh game, so congrats. You guys won that game. But you think about, when you watch movies from the 80s or the 90s and everybody says, business deals are done on a golf course. It's like, what is your golf course? Where do you have an opportunity to have people let their guard down or get more comfortable with you and really build a relationship? So I think it's important to use all these aspects. People don't talk about enough. Business deals aren't done necessarily, over an email. They're done in a lot of different places, and they're done with people and they're built off a lot of relationships. So I think if that's the way this business world works, my goal, and I think yours as well, for every athlete and for everyone to get in where you fit in, use what you got, open up the doors to get an opportunity. Because if you don't, someone else will to. So that's, I completely agree. This was great. That's all that I have. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I think this will be helpful for a lot of people, athletes, non-athletes, and I think everybody should in business and finance.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan.
Thanks, man. Kelvin, enjoy your off time. Enjoy South Africa. I don't know if you drink wine. There's some good South African whites down there, so enjoy yourself, and hopefully we can catch up again soon.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.